Hello, I am Casey Ryan, and there are two colors that need to be noted: blue and yellow. The colors of a country known as Sweden. Sweden is bordered by Norway to the west and Finland on the east. It is known for being one of the most socially liberal countries in the world, being ranked at number 6 in 2016 on the Social Progress Index. To put that into perspective, the United States is considered a more socially conservative country, being ranked at number 19. Sweden actually became more conservative in 2016. It was ranked number 2 in 2015, so it fell 4 places. The move to conservatism can possibly be seen as a backlash for mass immigration from Middle Eastern countries. Sweden is a constitutional monarchy. The king is Karl Mustafa, but most of the power remains within the government in a constitutional monarchy. The current prime minister is Stefan Löfven. The economy of Sweden is based on a mixture of free market capitalism and extensive welfare benefits. The country relies heavily on foreign trade based on timber, hydropower, and iron ore. The GDP increased by 3.6% in 2016. One fun fact is that between 1850 and 1910, over 1 million Swedes migrated to the United States. Many of them entered the United States through the famous Ellis Island. Newspapers are strong in Sweden. Over 75% of adults read a newspaper in Sweden every day. There are about 150 newspapers in the country, but most newspapers are local. Only 4 newspapers have a national audience. Almost all morning newspapers are subscription-based and are delivered to the homes of readers. 74% of all Swedes listen to the radio, and the average consumption time a day was a little less than 2 hours. 85% of the population watches television every day, and the average daily consumption is also just under 2 hours. Sweden has about 250 movies released annually, but only about 10% of those movies actually are made in Sweden. Over half are American-based movies. In Sweden, the biggest player in the newspaper industry is Bonnier Group. It owns over 25% of the newspapers in the country. The second largest is Stampen Group, followed by Schibsted Group. The company Sveriges Radio owns over 60% of the radio market. TV4 is a dominant television network in the country. It controls over 25% of the Swedish television market. Sweden has a very strong video game industry, with some of the most popular video games in the world coming from the country. EA DICE, a subsidiary of EA and one of the most famous game developers in the world, is located in Stockholm, Sweden. DICE is known for creating the Battlefield series and also creating the recent Star Wars Battlefront game. Mojang, a game company most notable for creating Minecraft, is also located in Stockholm. Minecraft remains one of the most popular games in the world, with over 100 million copies sold. Microsoft actually bought Mojang and Minecraft for $2.5 billion in 2014. Most game companies in Sweden are profitable. Sweden had the first free press law passed in the world in the Freedom of the Press Act of 1766. Sweden also had another one passed in 1991 called the Fundamental Law of Freedom of Expression. Although the free speech laws in Sweden are stricter than the United States, Swedes can go to jail for 2 years for content produced that is deemed hate speech, whereas in the United States, hate speech is still considered free speech. In 2014, Fredrik Vadeland, an editor of the website Nordfront, was put in jail for 4 months because of 30 comments containing what was said to be racist remarks from readers on the article. This has caused journalists to censor themselves on topics related to Islam. The Freedom of the Press Act does grant journalists access to information, and the government tends to respect that right. The government is fast to respond to requests. Sweden has a score of 31 on power distance. This means members of the workforce are more independent, and the relationship between employees and managers are laid back. Equal rights is more of a topic, which relates to Sweden being a more liberal country. The individualism score is high at 71. Members of society tend to worry more about themselves and their immediate family instead of worrying about other people. This also explains Sweden being a more liberal country because citizens aren't too worried about what others are doing. Citizens in countries with high indulgence levels are more likely to reach for their desires and place higher importance on leisure and free time. This could explain why Swedes spend about 2 hours listening to the radio and watching television every day. It could also explain the booming video game industry that Sweden possesses. With a population of about 9.88 million people, Sweden has a mobile phone adoption rate of 129%. There are actually more mobile phones than the number of people in the country, and about 91% of the population is connected to the internet. To put that into perspective, with a population of 324 million people, the United States has a mobile phone adoption rate of 119%, with about 75% of the population connected to the internet. Sweden's high number of mobile phones and people connected to the internet also coincide with the country's high indulgence rating. These stats also tie into the booming video game industry of Sweden, as online gaming is popular, and people can play games such as Minecraft on their mobile phones. For one last fun fact, A famous Swede moved to the United States in 2014. Marcus Persson, more known as his nickname Notch, created Mojang in the game Minecraft. Because of Minecraft, he became one of the most known game developers in the world. After Microsoft bought Mojang and Minecraft from him, he moved to a mansion in Beverly Hills, California. He paid $70 million for the mansion and outbid Beyonce and Jay-Z for it.